story today, we're going to start off with the very latest in the Harvey Weinstein investigation, the sexual harassment allegations. Now, we have a woman by the name of Amanda Segel. She's a female showrunner, and she is now saying that his little brother, Bob Weinstein, is also guilty of being a sexual harasser, if you will.
The one that's supposed to be the nice Bob.
What do you mean by that? You've been in this business for a long time. I don't know much about Bob.
Well, because he was very quick. I mean, long before this scandal even came out, he was very public with the fact that he didn't like the way his brother ran a business. That's the reason the two separated. Bob, by the way, split off and made a company called Dimension Films, which puts out a lot of horror movies, that kind of fare.
And he has daughters, and he had used the fact that, oh, I have a father of daughters, I do not condone this sort of behavior. So I did read a statement by Bob saying that months, weeks, I don't know, years ago. So is this shocking that Bob Weinstein is now wrapped up in this? This is, again, according to one female who's a showrunner. She said back in 2016, they went to dinner. He had started making sexual advances toward her. She didn't appreciate it. His people are coming out and saying, that never happened, and we have the receipts. What do they mean? Well, they don't actually say that, but that's how I'm seeing it. They're saying we have the emails to prove that, yes, they went to dinner, and no, nothing sexual went back and forth. We have emails, I guess, of them setting up dinner, of them after the dinner. So we'll have to wait and see what she has to prove that this happened. Fact of the matter is now the brother's being tied in, and then who's going to be tied in next?
But I think, too, the question has to always be, what do you consider harassment? Because just talking to some guy friends, a lot of men aren't clear. When you say harassment, sexual assault, they automatically assume like rape or something that's more physical and a little more aggressive versus like somebody making lewd sexual comments about your body or grabbing your butt when you walk by, stuff like that. So a lot of times people aren't clear, and men, in regards to what they're doing that could be taken as harassment.
I mean, so for example, I've gotten nude photos in my Facebook DM before of people like, oh, I watch you in the morning. Boom. And I'm like,
it goes down in the DM.
Is that considered sexual harassment? I've had people say,
oh, very much so.
I'm looking at your chest in the morning. Like, I've had people say those sort of things. I've just gotten used to that sort of thing where I don't look at it as something that I'm offended by, because it's like, get out of here. I can turn that off and turn that away. But is that sexual harassment?
It could be if someone is sending you nude photos, unsolicited photos of their body, or making comments about your body, like your personal space. Yeah, because again, that's unsolicited. Nobody asked to make a comment about your legs or your breasts or anything like that. So yeah, I just think
we've had
people
that
are
here in
unclear.
our own comments
on
this show. We witnessed that. So that's how prevalent it is, not in the industry, just in our culture, which is terrifying. So, okay, the whole Me Too campaign has sparked up because of this. Women coming out and saying, yes, hashtag Me Too, meaning I've too been sexually harassed or a victim of rape, or whatever you want to consider under that realm. And then there's other women who go, or there are other women who go, oh no, let's not call ourselves out. Let's not have to out ourselves as women. Let's turn this on the guys, right? Can you hear that?
So now Me Too is becoming a thing, like Megan said, pretty much saying, not Me Too, but him though. So we were hashtagging. That's the hashtag him though. So women are saying, me too, I've been sexually harassed or violated or assaulted in some way. But a woman in particular called recently on men to say, and her name is Liz Plank, and she said, how many women will it take to say me too before men talk about him though? Meaning, why is the burden always on women? I'm done pretending sexual assault is a woman's issue. Your shame is not ours. No, sir, hashtag him though. So pretty much saying, if you're seeing all these tweets and you're a man and you know you've done some shady stuff in the past or some stuff that we're talking about, when are you going to step up and say, you know what? It was me. It was me. Instead of chiming in and saying, yeah, you know, I'm on your side, because what we've been seeing, a lot of people, and this ties into the whole Harvey Weinstein and potentially Ben Affleck, where Ben came out and spoke on behalf of Rose McGowan and was like, yeah, if I wish I would have known, and if I said something, you know, if I see something, I'm going to say something. And Rose came back and said, actually, you did know what was going on and you did nothing. So again, now we've shifted the conversation to the men.
We have men here on the panel today, on the couches. And I'm trying to think of this as, okay, so a man comes out and says, okay, hashtag him though, I've I've been a perpetrator. I've been one to victimize a woman, and I've been one to call a woman out and then sexually harass her. How is that different than Harvey coming out and saying, I'm sorry, I did it, and admitting to it? We're not cutting him any slack. So are we going to not cut all these men any slack? What's that going to do to our culture then? I'm not saying that they shouldn't admit. I'm just saying, what is the point? What goal are we trying to achieve?
Right.
Putting all the cards on the table so that we can move forward, so that we can learn from it.
So then is it the same with Harvey, though? He puts his card on the table and says, I'm sorry. Do we forgive him?
No, nothing forgiven or forgotten.
And sometimes it's about recognizing what you're doing, because, again, if you hashtag him, though, and you say as a guy, hey, I did something, that's starting the conversation to say, at least I recognize when I'm sexually assaulting or making someone feel uncomfortable. Because a lot, if you have no clue that you're even doing these things, we can say me too all we want. But if you're like, oh, I didn't do anything. You're still not going to really get it until you put two and two together and say, oh, when I grabbed that girl's butt at the party, even though she told me don't touch her, oh man, that's what it's considered. So kind of taking some accountability. Will that happen? Who knows? Because men aren't probably going to say, hey, I'm a sexual predator.
Well, we see what's happening to Harvey. We see the fact that he's been dropped from the Weinstein company. They're probably going to change the name. He doesn't have a he's getting divorced. We see that people in his life aren't talking to him anymore. I'm just trying to think of what is that going to do to the rest of culture when the men come out and say we've done it too? Do we want them just to say, hey, we recognize that men in general have done this and we're going to try to change?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably just a reaction to what that woman wrote, the burden of it all. It's that there's a victim, and then now the victim has to come forward and relive this moment again, with no shame or punishment for the man. In these cases that they're talking about, it can go the other way as well, we know. That they suffer no consequences. They get to remain anonymous. They live their life without shame or guilt or any repercussions whatsoever. So I think they're just trying to bring that about it too. I don't know if it's a national call out for men to discuss things that may have gone on in the past. I don't really know. I just think that it seems to all fall on the victim. Everything from what happened to how they carry it through their whole life.
And
That's true.
And we're getting a couple comments from, and a couple on the same tone. Renee Fitchner says, these women had no problem doing what they did to get their parts. Ladies, don't sell your soul. And then we also had a couple comment, Rick Spears. Now, how many of you women went to watch a 17-year-old take his shirt off in Twilight and Edward DeBarros? These women knew exactly what they were doing to get the part. And can we speak about that a little bit? Because there's a stigma in Hollywood if you get to a certain level of success and you're a woman that you had to kind of sleep your way to the top.
Right, like, she must have slept her way to the top.
Who must have slept with somebody.
To get there?
Yeah, and if you're looped in with this Harvey Weinstein situation, that you must have did something to get in that situation, which is not necessarily the case. Most people that I know that are successful or rising stars, they wouldn't know who to sleep with to get to the top, even if they could to sleep their way to the top. So I don't really understand how that is automatically assigned.
Right.
I guess
that's your classic guilt by association, and it's not fair. It's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's people that probably would have, because there are people that are predators in that way. They would put themselves in that position if they thought it would get them in the proper place. And so now they're assuming if someone else has success, oh, they must have done that.
And you had mentioned in the show today, Morning Blend, if you didn't catch it, 5 to 7, we're on every day on TV. Mark, you had mentioned in the show that it's not just women, it's men too.
Oh, right.
Correct? Men too who have been victims of sexual harassment and assault and who are coming out now.
Absolutely. Men can be victims from sexual assault from men or women, and it's taking place as well. I think this is going to open up the topic. If nothing else, it's got everybody talking about it. Something good will come of it.
How do we feel about the Molly Ringwald essay that came out in the New York Post
Brilliant.
overnight? You brought it to our attention. Break it down for us.
It was heartbreaking but brilliant at the same time, and it was as if on cue, because you don't mention Molly Ringwald in a conversation.
No, unless you're talking 16 Candles.
Right, one of my favorite actresses from the 80s.
Right.
And I don't know if you guys have seen the Netflix original series based on the old Archie, Riverdale.
Oh, not yet,
But she's brilliant in that, too. So I mean, it's not like she's not working. She was just in town, like, not that long ago, promoting that big Quarry Adventure Park.
Roseville,
and we talked about it yesterday.
Wow.
The fact that she's from Roseville, to me, blows my mind.
And still comes home.
Connection.
Yeah,
and her
that's
pop's
great.
there too. Hi, Bob. So anyway, she wrote this brilliant article where it's heartbreaking. It also talks about steps that we could take as a society, and that none of us should turn our eye to it. That we should all blow the whistle if you see this happening around you. Don't tolerate it. And then she goes on to detail several times in her life where she's been a victim.
One of the accounts in that essay, anyone listening right now, really go read that. It's revealing, and it really, I don't know, from her perspective, I look at Molly and I trust her. For me, she's one of those people that you've always just sort of, I don't know, maybe it's because she's an endearing character in all of her movies.
She seems grounded in real life.
Grounded. She's from Roseville, right? She's a good hometown
good
girl.
Parents.
Good parents. But one of the accounts, and I can imagine it because I've been in these sort of rooms before where you're whether auditioning or you're in an interview, but I've never put myself in her shoes until now. And she goes, okay, imagine you're in an audition and the person who's there giving you the audition tells you to wear a dog collar.
And it's not a scene involving dogs or bondage or anything.
Yeah, but she had to wear that in audition, and it was all on camera. She goes, that camera's laying around somewhere in someone's drawer somewhere. How humiliating. She left that audition, and she called her agent, and she's like, she's humiliated. This is what happened to me, and the agent sort of brushed it off and said, oh, it's going to be a great story for your memoir one day. In this case, for an article in the New York Post having to talk about sexual harassment. And I think for so long, that's been the mentality. And I mean, being someone who's a working actress, you can speak more to that, Cornelia, but and I use the word rite of passage or the phrase rite of passage earlier in the show today because it seems like that's what it is. These things happen to you and you just tuck them away. It's going to be good for a book you write one day or a story you have later on. When is that going to stop?
Well, and when it's happening, you're in the moment. So whether you auditioning for a TV show, movie, short film, web series, a commercial, when you're in that room and you're an actor, one, you're thinking about, okay, I need to book this job because maybe I got bills. I haven't booked anything in a while. Or maybe you are secure with money, but you're like, you know what, this is going to take me to the next level. I really need this. So many pieces are playing while you're in that room. Then you're trying to nail the audition. You're trying to make sure that the choices you made on paper at home when you rehearse with your homegirl will translate in the room. So all of this is happening. So when I can see how something like that, when they say put the dog collar on, you really don't have time.
And she was a young girl.
You don't you don't have time to process something like that because you're already in the moment with so many other factors playing in. Then you risk, okay, if you do feel right then that it's degrading or it's something wrong, you walk out. Then if it's the head of casting, are they going to now blacklist you from casting? Will you not get the call back? Would you have gotten the call back if you would have put the dog collar on? Because you don't really know what people are thinking. So there's so many factors that go into this that I can see totally how people get boxed in and they just end up in this place where they walk out and they feel like crap because you're like, well, what was I supposed to do?
I just gave up myself, my dignity, like everything for that role, and maybe she did or didn't get the role, which is just even, it comes down to power, right?
Exactly, and that was the one thing, one of the big stories today is Michaela Maroney, the gymnast.
Another one, yeah.
And so she's telling her story about how she claims that she was sexually abused for 7 years. By one of the U.S. gymnastics physicians, I think, or one of the trainers. So it's in USA Today and other spots. But she talks about that it's not just Hollywood. It's anytime that there's this power structure where someone has so much power over you. These are young girls. And she said she wanted to be in the Olympics so badly that she just endured what happened to her over the years because she was trying to achieve a goal and she was powerless to overcome it. So I encourage you to read the story because, again, it's not just Hollywood, it's this power structure where one individual, man or woman, has so much more power over the other person and they use that and now everyone's telling their story. So.
Especially despicable when people know this behavior is taking place and they protect that person. And people do go on to have their careers destroyed or blacklisted. Think about all the people that aren't famous, that don't have voices because they were blacklisted because they tried to blow the whistle.
We have people chiming in now, so thank you, all of our loyal viewers here. Heidi Allen Pepin, I worked in tech, and people say the same of a woman. Who did she sleep with to get that promotion? It's not only Hollywood. So to your point, Rob, let's see, I'm going to go through these comments here. Ami Kniltag. Also, if someone is pressured into a casting couch scenario, whether it's male or female, it's still wrong. Women can be just as guilty. And we've acknowledged that. There are females who are in power now, and I haven't heard of any cases yet where it's, oh, who did that man sleep with to get to the top? But I'm sure men are going to start coming out. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah, and the same thing with Edward. Men are coming out. Women have done it too. We acknowledge that. And then Edward also to say these women knew exactly what they were doing to get the part. I mean, using Molly's example of the dog collar, I don't know if she knew what she was doing. You know, she was, okay, maybe that's part of the audition. And she puts it on and she's a kid. I wouldn't say that these women always know what they're doing and putting themselves in positions to be sexually harassed. I can
she said her story.
When someone sent me the nude photo of themselves, I didn't ask for that.
Yeah.
In the article,
asked for the nudes.
She goes on to say that her story would be so much different had she not had great parents, and she worries for all of the young aspiring actors and actresses who don't have good parents that are helping to guide them and to a certain extent shepherd them away from this situation.
Or who are a little isolated, because you got to think in Hollywood, New York, LA, a lot of people move from their podunk little city to make it big. So if you may have had a sheltered life, you really don't know about living in a city like that where there's so much going on and you feel like everybody has so much at stake, you may be a little naive to it. Maybe not, but again, you're just dealing with all types of people, and people prey on the weak, unfortunately.
It's something that happens in a lot of people's lives. You start off when you're young, innocent, you assume everything's great and people have nothing but the best intentions, and then as you live life and you have experiences, something starts to grow in your brain and you start to say, I'm going to be a little bit skeptical because it doesn't always turn out that way. And so unfortunately, the really young people trying to get in a very competitive business, if you go in there thinking everything's going to be great and this person really cares about my career, they very easily could slip up in that situation, be in that situation with no way to get out of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's obviously happened so many times. But that's, to your point, Cornelia, yeah, sometimes when you're from a small town, the world just, you think everybody's like your neighbor, and it's not always that way.
Then when you get to Hollywood, you think, oh, so this is how it works. We have to do this.
Like sort of the rite of passage thing. You think that this is just what you deal with if you want to make it to the top. It's the industry you chose to be in, but it doesn't have to be that way. And
there is a blockbuster,
it's a huge culture shock.
Famous Hollywood actor that we all know right now, and I've heard this rumor, and I've heard it confirmed from too many sources for it not to be somewhat true, that this guy moved to Hollywood to make it, and someone said, well, this certain director, producer will take you in if you sleep with this person and engage in this relationship with this person, they will shepherd your entire career. And this person rose all the way to the top. Wow. And was protected and had sworn a vow of secrecy that we will not blow the whistle on this person, but this person has done the same situation to other people.
Wow, and it's like to what extent do you want it that bad where you give yourself up like that? Because they can't be happy at the end of the day, like knowing deep down inside that you've given your body or your soul to someone. To hold a secret your whole life. That's terrible. That's terrible.
But it happens.
I know a lot of you are chiming in about victim blaming, saying it's a thing, it needs to stop, because when we start blaming victims, then people are going to stop coming out and this conversation will come to a halt. At this point, I feel like even with some of the victim blaming that's happening, people are coming out anyways. And they're saying, this is my story. So we see all of your comments now. Kimberly Morgan, I carry my mace. Mama Bear has 6 little ladies to protect. I will bite. No one is going to hurt my babies under my watch. There you go, Kimberly. That's one way to get through all of this. All right.